let's jump in. Let's go right here. So what the first
Okay.
thing we want to talk about is like the world energy. What do we
Okay.
have for 2023? What do you think?
Well, every year I try to, I sit here and I think about all this stuff, like I gather information. So to me, this is the year of massive change. Okay. Massive change. I know people want it to stop and they want it to settle down. There's
I
a
got the
butterfly
butterfly.
situation. Right.
But
Okay.
here's the problem. They're not going to like the changes.
Well, okay. But, it's always free will. Now, the whole thing about
Mhm.
astrology is, the planets compel, the planets impel, they do not compel. So that means that there's always free will. But we take our cues from reading the signs and symbols of the stars. It's very ancient, goes back at least 8,000 years. And so, for me, this is like you look at the big, long cycles of change. That's what's so great about astrology, especially if you want to really learn about it. There's a great book called Cosmos and Psyche by an astrologer named Richard Tarnas, and he goes over 500 years of how the major, what they call the outer or the transpersonal planets move and change. So this year, March is the big change up here.
Mhm.
Okay. So in March, there's two mini ages, one mini age, one longer age starting. Uh, Saturn, the planet of reality, of limitations, obstacles, testing, reality, physical things, tangible things, is entering the intangible sign of Pisces, the sign of psychics, of mystics, of seers, of addictions, of mental illness, of endings, of completion, of source. So to me, that's a really going to be a very fascinating transit. It starts March the 7th. It's going to go on until 2026. Saturn spends about 2.5 years moving through a sign. So for all the Pisces people, everything, their dream world is going to become real. So I think my best hope for this is people are going to feel. Saturn is water. I mean, Pisces is water. It's the last water sign. It is about source, returning to source. So everybody's going to realize that reality and spirituality are the same thing. There's no separation. So for all of us, Saturn rules elders and seniors. And, we were talking about this being older. We've been at this. I've been a professional astrologer for over 30 years. Saturn word is chronology, time. So crones, women owning their power as elder women. That's really important for them. So people have been working a long time doing spiritual work are going to get respect. Saturn is respect. Okay. So, and being taken seriously, spirituality is going to be taken seriously. It's going to be seen as something we cannot live without, but not organized religion, more of an innate, internal, like more indigenous, you know what I mean? More pagan, your own
Absolutely.
direct relationship to spirit, right? Is there's no outside authorities that can tell you what to do, right?
I see that being a thrust, actually, where
Yeah.
people are just so fed up of following the corrupt elite protocol and shutting up and just doing what we're supposed to be doing. I see so many changes in that area, and I do see indigenous people or indigenous thinking or people of color or the minorities,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to call all of that, that has been
Mm-hmm.
happening, that we've been sort of um, things have been exposed to us, and our knowing now is bigger. So now we really know what's going on, and we can't just unknow it, and you can't just not do something. So I think this is the year where those people will get more stage time, more light, more
Mm-hmm.
attention, more
Right.
solution, more resolution,
Right.
and more truth. But we are going to see a whole lot of people exposed for lies.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
a
Well,
huge amount, like huge.
Well, Pisces is also the 12th sign. So in traditional astrology, it's traditionally only associated with death and endings, right? But it's also about return to source. So it's about addictions and denial and illusions, delusions, mental illness, suicide, like all of the dark, sort of shadowy, the unconscious, the dream world. It is the beautiful thing about it is make your dreams real. That's Saturn and Pisces. Your dreams are real. Whatever you can imagine is real. So I think that's going to be really beautiful, but also can be very overwhelming. Like Saturn is very much like the tsunami. So a lot of water. I do like to do political and, worldwide predictions here. So yeah, lots of tsunami, lots of rains, lots of floods, right? Lots of overwhelming emotions, lots of crying, lots of grieving, lots of letting go. lots of surrendering. Jupiter, Saturn in Pisces is like, give it up to God. Let the universe
Yeah,
take care of it. Let go of my
yeah,
ego, surrender,
yeah.
right? So it's
But
a
I see a
very, very
rebuilding. I
spiritual.
see a lot of people using the beaver energy, to sort of go on and being resourceful like the beaver,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
trying to start from scratch, start over,
Hmm.
get your own
Hmm.
little spot, find your spot. And beavers live in colonies. Beavers live in families, large families, and I think this also speaks to our reconnecting with people that are of our blood or have our back, friends,
Hmm.
family. So pulling back a bit instead of going out there and making yourself big.
Hmm.
Pull back
Right.
and make yourself
Yeah, it's
big.
very introverted. Pisces
Mhm.
is very introverted, so people are going to go in. I mean, I know people are tired of being confined and all of that, but this is a different kind. This is a voluntarily. I want to know what's going on deep inside of me because
Exactly.
it's very empathic. People are like my sense is, you're not going to be able to buy the fast clothes, those Shein fast clothes, because you're going to feel the sweat and the tears of all that slave labor that went in to make
Yeah.
it. And people go, no,
Consciousness.
no more. Yeah,
Consciousness.
consciousness, right? Real consciousness, real understanding of the roots, the source of everything, the food you eat, how it was grown, all that corporate structure, I think is going to fall because if it's
Mhm.
not real, if it's not really transparent, ethical, it's not, people are not going to buy it anymore. And all that fake
Right.
glamour. Pisces will
Exactly. And this is
glamour.
why you and I were talking how I have been dreaming in, I've been seeing this coming, this revolution for the last
Hmm.
year and a half, 2 years, I've been seeing it. And
Yep.
you confirmed that it's there. You
Hmm.
confirmed for me the other day. I saw your post and I was like, see, there it is again.
Hmm.
There it is.
Right.
And I know it's coming. I can feel it brewing. Something, I think the button gets pushed late February, early March, but nothing
Well,
shows up until end of March.
okay, well, March.
And
Okay, so
then
I just said
June.
that Saturn and Pisces, right? That's one part of it. The bigger part of it and the longer term part of it is Pluto. Now, Pluto is a planet to astrologers. It's got a heart. I believe it is going to be made into a planet again. I remember I channeled Pluto when they first demoted him, and Pluto is like the Lord of Death, laughing at these silly little astronomers, going, "Are you
Right?
kidding?" But
What was
anyway,
that?
so Pluto's going to enter Aquarius. This is a big deal. Every time Pluto enters a new sign, that's March 23rd, 23. So, everybody was making a big deal about 222, 22. So I think 323, 23 is very significant. 23 is also a number that you can't divide. So it's a very special number itself. So Pluto entering Aquarius, moving from corporate structure, plutocrats, Capricorn, where it entered in late 2008, and everybody remembers what happens in 2008. That was the mortgage subprime
Yes, it
crisis,
was.
right? Every time Pluto enters a new sign, it's like wham, there's a destruction, there's a blowing things open. So Pluto enters the air sign of technology and revolution on that day. It
You
stays
know
at
what?
0 degrees. Right.
You know what, Tara? I
Yeah.
had a thought. I was talking to Michelle Marie yesterday,
Hmm.
as you know, and we came up
Hmm.
with something. She said something and I said something, and I was like, yes, that might be it. Medical beds, where
Medical.
a medical bed where you would lay down in this bed and somehow
Hmm.
be connected to it, and
Hmm.
you would, whatever buttons you would push would heal whatever was ailing you. And then
Right.
I had many years ago, I wrote it in one of my books and I found it a long time ago, about this brain gym that I saw,
Hmm. Hmm.
and where you go over to this thing. It's like a round cylinder, and you
Hmm.
walk into it, and you put this thing down over your head, put a
Hmm.
couple coins in, and you get energy for the next 3 hours. So like,
Right.
right, and it was happening in an Asian country. It looked like Japan or something. This
Hmm.
was what I saw when I was 32.
Okay.
So so this is the type of technology I
Yeah.
think we're
Yeah.
heading towards.
Well, that's
What
the
do you think?
positive side. The positive side, because it's Aquarius, right? And
Hmm.
Pluto represents the soul, esoterically. So, and the collective conscious of the people, right? So, the high side of Aquarius, because it is a dual sign, the waves of Aquarius is the water bearer, and it's the star in the tarot. That's the symbol of Aquarius, right? So, bringing higher consciousness down. That's what Aquarius is ideally all about. It's always associated with revolutions. It's always associated with women being in power. Queen Elizabeth
Right?
I was in power during Pluto and Aquarius. I think, what's her name? There's a famous warrior, Boudica, who fought
Boudica.
against the Romans. Boudica.
Oh
uh,
yes, and there
in
you can
she
find
was
a
Pluto in
YouTube show.
Aquarius.
It's
Yeah.
on YouTube.
So yeah. So Pluto and Aquarius, the high side of it is that the technology will enhance, us. They do have machines like that already. That there was, it used to be called a quantum X-roid machine. Now they call it something else, and you get hooked up and it adjusts your body. And there's Healy technology, which I think is a more people are using that, and infrared technology. So yeah, the high side of that is what it's all about. So Pluto will only be at 0 degrees of Aquarius. When planets are at 0 degrees, they're just starting. So it's a little like an appetizer of Pluto and Aquarius, and then it's going to move back into Capricorn on June the 11th. So my sense is June the 11th until January the 20th, 2024, when Pluto is back in Capricorn for the coup de grace. Like my sense is Pluto's going to like finish off everything it started since 2008. So it is a big battle, the Plutocrats, or is it going to destroy that whole corporate structure?
Well,
So that's the big
we,
question.
yeah, we saw some energy floating around over Britain and how the monarchy
Mm-hmm.
is about to change. There will be some big changes in the monarchy, and it's not
Yeah.
just obvious because things are happening, but that Harry
Mm-hmm.
pulling out has created all kinds of interesting energy. So we have this
Mm-hmm.
gap where energy can flow in and out now. So there's movement,
Mm-hmm.
and we can see what's going on. And I think the whole reveal this year is all the elite corruption in all areas, and I don't think the
Right.
people are going to be happy about it anymore. And
No.
I think women may lead.
Yeah.
Women may lead, and people of color. And it's
Yeah.
rightfully it's about time they had their
Mm-hmm.
time, and that we followed them, we support them, we are
Right.
part. There's no them, we are part of the whole movement, but women
Right.
and people of color especially.
Well, I think that's the high side of Pluto and Aquarius, because I think the vindication of women's rights, like the first feminist books that were written, came when Pluto was in Aquarius, like right after. Like you got to remember also the U.S. is going through its first Pluto return still, which was just the last exact one, which is December 28th. That's still in effect into 2024. So my sense is, it is the destruction of all that corporate greed and everything
Mhm.
that doesn't feed the soul. So it needs to come out. That shadow, that's what Pluto's all about in psychology, the shadow. And so it's a good thing for that corruption to be exposed, like what Elon Musk is doing on Twitter. Like him or not, he is performing a public service and putting his soul on the line for it, actually. And then when Pluto re-enters Capricorn, January the 20th, it's going to be 20 years of Pluto in Aquarius till 2044. That's a long time from now. So the world's going to be a totally different place. So the kids that are being born now, for example, coming in with this revolutionary energy, it is all about revolution, you know,
Mhm.
and major change, like what's going on in Iran. The women already,
Oh my god.
they're not stopping. They're not
So what do you
stopping.
think will happen with that, Tara? What do you think will happen with that in this 2023? Do you think any
With
of the
Iran?
countries will get involved and move
Yeah.
them into a nicer way? Do you think that will happen?
Yeah. Actually, hold on a second. I've got my notes here. I did take notes. Hold on now. It doesn't want to
I
open
got
here.
a
Come on.
feeling that they're going to want to be a part of a group more
Mm-hmm.
than not.
Okay.
So the group has to say either you stop it or you're
Mm-hmm.
out. And this is when they're going to go,
Right.
okay, what do you want us to do? And this is
Mm-hmm.
when they're going to go, okay, we won't do this and this, but they'll still be sleazy and corrupt.
Right. Well, the country of Iran, astrology countries have astrology charts too. They have natal charts like people. So Iran was born, modern Iran, April the 1st. That's an April Fool's Day, actually, 1979 when the Ayatollah took over.
It
Uh,
is not, is
it is April the 1st. Yeah, 1979. Okay, so the women's revolution, that's Venus is going to be in Leo this year, turning retrograde. Now, Venus doesn't go retrograde all the time, so it's a big deal. That starts in July. So I really believe that there will be sanctions against Iran, that there's going to be more of a, again, as Pluto gets into Aquarius, people are going to see we're a collective. That's what Aquarius is about. It's not, there is no separation, and there's no monarchies, there's no hierarchies. That's what Pluto and Aquarius is about. It's about the people taking power. You want to say you want a
it?
revolution
Yeah,
by the Beatles, you know?
yes,
It's the people. So nobody's got power over anybody else. Everybody's got equal rights. Everybody's got a right to be their own individual, to be as unique as you are, but nobody's got rights over this. So we have to work together. It's like the hive mind,
exactly.
right?
I
Yeah.
got a lot of
Well,
that. And the community spirits, when I ask the world thing, what will we share? And it is
mm-hmm.
making decisions together, sharing,
Right.
making them together.
Collectively.
So, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not just, it's everybody coming to the table, sort of being with the pipe,
Right.
and speaking to their
Right.
gods and not, not questioning who their gods are, but the end result being that we work together in collaboration of keeping a healthy earth, whatever that is,
Right.
and keeping
Right.
a healthy economies and so on. I think this year will be some discussions like that, and that's the only way the political people will even be able to stay in, because they're going to
Mm-hmm.
welcome in more content from people in the know, such as the indigenous communities.
Right.
So I
Right.
think this, it's not just environmentalists. So look what's happening with the environmentalists. Look at the pipes. The pipes are going in areas. What environmentalists said that was okay? I'd like to know. You know,
Right.
that
Right.
they're putting these black snakes in
Yeah.
waterways that are
Right.
ruining people's
Well, I
communities. Are you having trouble
oh,
hearing?
you're free up tomorrow.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Whoops. Uh-oh. Hey, Tamara.
Yeah,
Sorry, we're freezing up there.
yeah, I saw that. Just give it a
Okay.
second. It'll come back.
Okay.
It'll come back.
I got the. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Last part I heard was black snakes in the water, is what you were saying.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the oil pipes, right? They're
Right.
going through people's waterways, right? In the middle of their homes and their family.
Mm.
And then when they burst, there's nothing anybody can do.
Yeah.
So a lot of our
No,
indigenous
I know.
people are going without decent water, and then we're threatening their decent water by putting stuff like this inside them. It's like, what are you talking about? And how come there is anyways, these are the types of things that I do think are going to be
Right.
more at the yes, water is
Well, I
life.
think people are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because Aquarius is about ideas. It's ideally Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius traditionally, and I do use both. And so, even though Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, and Uranus is in Taurus, which is all about the land and the earth, and Uranus today, for example, is at the 15th degree, the middle degree of Taurus. When planets are at the middle degree, they're like in this peak, right? And archetypally, 15 degrees of Taurus is a fixed star in the sky, which is related to the archangel Michael, actually, because the four fixed major stars are archangels. So, Michael's got the big sword out there, he's protecting everybody. But Uranus and Taurus is bringing radical change. There's no way of, not to get this radical change
Uh,
everywhere. So people collectively realize we're all in the same boat here on this little planet. We have to work together, but we can't have other people, big businesses, corporations telling us what to do.
yeah,
So I
but I
think
don't I don't
there
see
is a
this.
lot.
I don't know if this
Sorry.
is going to change fast. What I do see is
Well, no,
there's
I
going to
think
be a
it is going
few.
to take time.
Yeah, there'll be a few carpets pulled out from underneath a few so-called stable environments of the corrupt and elite. But I do think, and I think whatever changes that we instigate this year will take about 3 years to finally go through. But it won't be because they want to. It'll be because we keep the pressure on.
Right. Yeah. So ideally, Aquarius is like this ideal of humanity, and I kept having these lyrics of this song going through my head. There's this woman singer that I really like. Her name is Lisa TL, and she was one of the first to
Ah,
sing goddess
love her,
songs in
love
the
her,
80s. You know her. I love her voice.
love her.
Anyway, I remember. So what kept repeating in my head is the lyric to one of her songs going, "We are humans without humanity." And I'm
Right.
going, okay, that's exactly what it is. So now we're going to learn what it means to be human,
With
right?
humanity.
Like an ideal human. I thought that's what this is all about. So some people are going to want to be robotic. And, there's that whole thing with, I don't know if you've heard about this. They want to create like babies born in these pods to stop the decline in the world's population. It looks just like the Matrix. It's really hideous. Somebody actually started a company to do this. Like, oh, women can't have babies. Well, just grow them in a pod, right?
Well,
So this
speaking of that,
transhumanism. Yeah.
this year we're going to find secrets revealed about things that what many thought were conspiracy, and
Right.
not everything that's been conspiracy is true, but there are a
Right.
handful of things that are going to be revealed as truths. And it will have to do with the virus. It will have to do with the vaccination. And it will have to do with the corruption behind it all. There will be, that stuff will be um, strongly guarded, and people will be very careful to try to keep it hidden. But I do believe somehow someone who doesn't want to stand with the rest, we got the heron in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
So this
Mm-hmm.
is someone who has been with the people, who
Mm-hmm.
decides to stretch out and go on their own.
Mm.
So I think someone's going to basically leak something important that will help us get the information we need. That's what I see happening in 23 regarding those things that we're concerned about regarding our health. Okay,
Right.
in this in all areas, because it has to do more with what's in that bottle that they're putting in our arms.
Right.
And
Well, I
then
mean, sorry,
no,
that's what's
that's all
coming
right.
up right now. And that's really what Saturn and Pisces is because, like, Neptune's been in Pisces since 2011, right? And I've got a countdown going. Can't wait till Neptune leaves Pisces when the new spiritual era starts. This is all also really exciting in 2026. 2025, 2026, because it's all about fake news and illusions and delusions and projections. And, so Saturn is like, no, you know, what's fake news and what's
Yeah,
reality. So I think,
yeah,
but a lot of people are not going to want to. They're going to be in denial. They're going to be scared. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I see that, but
So yeah.
I also see an awakening. I see a lot of
Yes, of
people
course.
awakening and fed up of being duped, and not just duped, but not being cared for by their governments and by their, and living impoverished, losing their houses, losing their businesses, not having the support. This stuff is just brewing. People are pissed off. People are angry, and they have not had the help they need, and they're finding themselves on the street for real. These things are
Yeah,
happening.
yeah.
And I think that the fact that our governments have not advanced fast
Mm-hmm.
enough to solve the
Mm-hmm.
problems is what's going to
Mm-hmm.
solve is what's going to create the energy needed for the people to step up. So I
Right.
think we're going to find um, every how when the truckers convoy went through, and that we
Mm-hmm.
started noticing so many countries jumped on board.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the kind of thing that's rolling out for 23. Something,
Right.
but something, maybe even not that the truckers convoy wasn't organized properly, but something
Mm-hmm.
even more
Mm-hmm.
organized, even
Right.
more. Something else is. So all I know is it's still going to make people angry. Not everyone's going to be happy about it, eh?
Right. Well, I think it's hard to let go of the illusions and it's hard to take responsibility yourself. It's much easier to think the government will take care of me, somebody will
Mm-hmm.
take care of me. You have to be responsible. You have to be sovereign.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take responsibility for your own health. You have to take
Yeah,
responsibility for the choices you make. And that's Saturn. Saturn kind of puts you
yeah.
through the hard test, but you grow through it and you gain through it. And I think it's going to be a wonderful thing.
And this is where
Yeah,
communities may get together and create gardens,
yeah,
and look
already
after each
happened.
other's children.
Yeah.
Everybody somebody looks after the yards and the other person looks after the flowers or whatever. I think
Well,
this
that's
is
very much
why.
like Aquarius. It's about you remember the song, "The Age of Aquarius." From the musical Hair. It is about everybody sharing. It's about communes. I remember my cousin telling me this years ago, predicting,
Mhm.
"Oh, when we get to be retirement age, we're all going to live in communes again." And I went, "Yeah, she's right." Because that's
It's true.
exactly what happened. And
It
people
is
won't
what's
be
going to
able to
happen.
survive on their own because they're being forced into it. It's too
Yeah,
expensive. Like,
economy.
you know,
It's
the
flatlined,
economy.
and the lesson of the wolf is the other thing I've been told for
Mhm.
most people. And I didn't choose these cards; they chose me. I shuffled and picked them.
Okay.
And so this one shows up, and this one tells me that everyone's going to have to learn their place. Okay, everyone has to learn their
Mhm.
place. There is a natural hierarchy. Not, when we look at a circle, every piece, every link in the circle is important. Everyone.
Mhm.
So there really
Mhm.
isn't a leader. But when we
Right.
look at when we look at the wolf, there really isn't a leader either. But there is a position, and so
Mhm.
the elders are not first, but
Mhm.
the most fierce of the wolves
Mhm.
are. The
Mhm.
strongest ones are first, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
right after them is the elders, because they're
Right.
the most cared for. They're the most protected, and then
Mhm.
behind them would be the teenagers, and
Mhm.
then the little pups,
Right.
and then the mothers. And the
Mhm.
teenagers will be running back and forth and around and sort of keeping the little kids corralled. So what we
Right.
know about the wolf vibration, and to bring it into your
Mhm.
home, is to follow in the hierarchy that is necessary to keep your family safe.
Right.
It is to be a healer. It is to be the pathfinder. Don't be afraid to, step out and do something a little different, or maybe something that's been in your heart for a long time. This
Mm-hmm.
is going to be the year to take that step forward and to do what's right for your family, because you're going to be thinking this year about long-term family stuff.
Yeah.
How is your family going to fare? Because our economy has changed. It has
Right.
changed,
Yeah.
and in some areas we're going to experience some flat lines. In other areas we're going to experiencing digital money and a switch over, and all of these things are happening right now. We have to learn to go with the cycles of the moon,
Mm-hmm.
and be at peace with it.
Right.
Be at peace with
Well,
it.
it's the wolf full moon. We're still in the energy of the full moon. I saw it last night.
Yes, we
It
and
did a
that's
little
the other
howl.
and
Yeah. So
that
the
was
wolf,
the other
and
thing.
yeah, and Women Who Run with the Wolves. Speaking of the wolves, that book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, which was written in the early '90s, has made this big resurgence again. She's a Spanish woman, Clarissa Pincola Este. She's a PhD, and it's really wonderful because she's talks about Spanish Lady of Fatima and sorry, what's her name in Mexico? The famous they had a vision in Mexico, right? The famous Mexican Catholic, like she's like a saint. But anyway, I mean that whole thing about wolf pack and teachers. Wolves are teachers. And did I ever tell you about the encounter I had with a big giant black timber wolf in BC?
I don't think so.
Okay, my family and I were on this little road outside of Caslow, BC, which is a little town in central BC, and we just sort of went driving, and it's little 2-lane roads, and all of a sudden this big black animal came out from the forest and stopped right in the middle of the highway in front of us, and we thought it was a bear because it was as big as the whole lane. And then I saw it had a big black tail that went down to the road, and I went, oh my god! It had gold eyes, and it just stopped and it stared at us. So we were trying to slow down, but then there was no way to pull over. And we just slowed down as much as we can. I remember I was fumbling with my camera. I couldn't get a picture of it. It just stared at us, right? And then when we got too close, it just leapt right into the woods and disappeared. And so it
Wow.
was
Well,
amazing. I
I'd like
felt like
to,
I just had
as you
this
were bringing the
incredible,
story, as you were bringing your story out, I was
yeah.
followed and subscribed by the Wolf King, and I just want to say
Okay.
thank you to the Wolf King for following
Oh,
us.
The Wolf King. That was my favorite book when I was a kid. There's a famous book called The Wolf King
Well,
that I
I
read,
think
I
there's
don't
a
know,
story here for
innumerable
you.
times. Okay, that's great.
There's something
That's
here for you. Oh
yeah.
yes. There, see,
Well,
you're welcome. The Wolf King. Yeah, see that?
thank you. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I
Great.
say that the wolf is really about getting back to basics and following the way the normal community or the regular community, the tribal community would be following, sort of look to uh, put your life back on that path, to also be more natural, using herbals, this type of thing, growing your own food, making your own things, creating. And if you can't do it, barter with a friend, this type of thing.
Right.
So yeah, and with the wolf moon, as you pointed out, this is the tail end of the wolf moon right now. And just as a point of reference, if anyone wants to put some water out there, a good night to do it, because you'll get a little bit of that water will be super loving and super helpful.
Right. Keep your
This is a
crystals.
Yeah, clean up your crystals, consecrate your altars, that type of thing. Wash your face with
Yeah.
it, right? And depending on what kind of vessel you had it in, you could drink it. So
Right.
there's lots of things you can do with moon water, or
Hmm.
witch's water, or holy water for the witch, right?
Right.
Um, so just so I want to point out, though, this is a good time for everyone right now to set your intentions, and if something doesn't serve your highest good right this minute, I mean, if something's dragging into 2023 with you from 22 and it doesn't feel right, I'm saying put the brakes on. No, do it now. Do it this month. Do it during Mercury retrograde. This is a difficult time to come into 2023 during a Mercury retrograde. I mean, it does mean that you've got 2022 all smeared all over your new year. So stop, see, look at what's happening that you don't like. And if it's people, places, or things, don't feel obliged to keep them. Say goodbye, cut them out, swipe them left.
Yeah. I also want to mention that, Mars is retrograde. I don't know about everybody else, but Mars is the planet of energy and action, is the defender, the warrior. Mars has been moving retrograde since October the 30th, and it will continue to be retrograde until January the 12th. So Mars is sitting stationary in the sky virtually at 8 degrees of Gemini. Now, if you really know your astrology chart, you want to look at where 8 degrees of Gemini is in your chart. It's really exhausting. And so people are, angry and frustrated because things are not moving ahead, but it's a great time to review, to reflect.
Exactly.
Retrograde planets are actually good medicine because the symbol for retrograde is a big capital R and a little X, and that's the symbol for a prescription for good medicine. It's not a disaster. Disaster means without a star, actually.
Thank
So
you.
all Mercury retrogrades are a great time to just give your brain a break. Mars and retrograde, stop rushing around like a maniac. Just chill out. It's very hard for Aries and Scorpio who have no patience, right? Because they're run by Mars. But take this time, really enjoy it and reflect and just, yeah, I agree with you. Don't take new things in. Don't start any New Year's resolutions. I
No,
mean, I
not
don't
yet.
really
Not
think of
yet.
it as
Yeah.
as the New Year anyway, because pagans start March 21st. That's the first day of
Yeah.
Sun, Aries. First day of spring is archetypally really the real beginning of the new year.
Yeah, I think right now we're wrestling things that need to get out of our lives, and anything to do with any word that has an re is a word you should look at in terms of retrograde. So
Right.
reset, reduce, recycle, all the R's.
Yeah,
Okay.
all the RE words. Oh.
Hang on a second. What's that, Sky? Hi.
Did you get my Amazon package today?
There is an Amazon packages in the shop.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry about that. Life
We're
happens.
keeping it real. That's RE. Keeping it real.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's important just to keep in mind to clear out this year before you start planning. So when we start to talk about all the things that are going to change for the zodiac, for you zodiac signs, we're about to talk about that. So each of you will get to hear how you're going to manage the year 2023, how you'll manage this energy. So we'll speak to you in each zodiac sign. Both of us will give you some information about how to navigate the year. But keep in mind, any retrograde is not a time for action. It's a time for review, okay, and restructuring and recommitting and resetting. Yes, those things, but not to build. Renovating is okay too.
Right. That's a good thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do still have to go ahead and get things done with retrograde planets, and astrologers do. And it just means it may take longer, or yes, you may have to return it. That's true. That's an RE thing. But you can't stop everything. You know what I mean?
No.
But
Yeah.
I am finding it's very exhausting. That's all, because it's not
I
moving
have
ahead.
I have Virgo in my ascendant, and Mercury, just every time it comes, it's like having one of those friends who come and don't want to leave.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I'm kind of glad Mercury's around, but do you have to spend so much time? Can you go after like 3 days? No.
Well, I mean, Mercury's in Capricorn. It really depends on what sign Mercury is retrograding. And there's going to be 4 Mercury retrogrades this year. I find it's worse when Mercury is in Gemini or Virgo, the sign it rules. And for all Geminis and Virgos, whenever Mercury is retrograde, you feel it more because it is your ruling planet. So you have to know not just your sun sign, but really your ruling planets. That's traditional astrology, but it's very, very important. So Mercury in Capricorn is like, let's take care of business from last year. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's think
Exactly.
about our careers. Let's think about our long-term goals. Let's reassess all that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
just let me tell everyone in the room, just so you know, we're going to speak first on the astrology energy that's out there, and then I'll pipe in with my tarot cards and add and show and share, and you'll understand how well this all goes between a psychic and astrologer, and astrologer psychic, and a psychic astrologer.
Okay. Well,